Boom. Welcome everyone. MATÉ talk time. Back into it. Super exciting. MATÉ talk today. Sorry, my brain's going everywhere. All about colognes. I had this conversation I raised last week, or this question I raised last week, and all week I've had some awesome comments. I'm gonna summarize everything and present to you my findings, plus include my 2 cents to this whole conversation. The announcements for today, twofold. One is K&M fragrance stores, the activities that we're doing later this year, and then the OT traveler promo that we've got running, and I'll tell you more about that. So far there's only one winner, or so far there's only one person who's entered, so maybe he's gonna take it all. It's all for him. Let me begin. Boom, boom. Okay, so I mentioned last week that I am busy working at this amazing place here. The Australian Open is actually exploding on your screens right now, I'm sure. But if you're into tennis, you'll be watching all things AO. We work over all of January is dedicated to the Australian Open. And I use it as a great chance or a great opportunity to test a variety of fragrances. These are the ones that I am testing currently. I also utilize my team, and we smell and get first responses on different fragrances. Now, one thing that is important whenever I'm testing is not to look at notes. So push that aside. I always push that aside and just really elaborate more on what's the fragrance doing, its performance, what's it trying to say to me, what am I detecting, am I enjoying it, is the important part. Now, the one that I've been sort of really, and I wanted to start with these guys. I've been testing a lot, but I'm going to talk about these guys today. This is GRIMOIRE, GRIMOIRE Parfums. And they're an Aussie local house. The gentleman's name is Troy. He is a self-taught perfumer. My hat off to this guy, because I know if I was in a lab mixing this and that, I'd make a mess of things. Whereas Troy has come out with some beautiful fragrances. There are 5 in here. They are unique, meaning that this is not, for those who know the channel, I have like a rating system. These fragrances are really designed more for a veteran onwards. So new recruits, semi-pros, don't think this would hit the mark for you guys. From a veteran point of view, I think moving onwards, yes. And that's primarily because there are very deep animalic dark notes. Now, drinking game, everyone. See how many times I say the word dark? I've been trying to find as I was preparing, another word to symbolize dark. But yeah, let's see how I go. I want to talk about 2 fragrances from this. Okay, so let me give first some backstory. So, GRIMOIRE, these are storyline concepts. His inspiration is these mythological creatures, I guess, or mythological stories. So this discovery set, very clever. So he's done a really good job. You can't see it too well, but it has like a book sort of feel to it, like these are pages. It is designed as a book sort of case. You put it on your shelf. Have a look at the bottle design. So the lid is also very clever. It is a book that's open. It essentially is, he's taking these dark mythological, boom, that's the first one down, these mythological storylines, and then recreating what their scent profiles would be. I would like to elaborate more on, or expand more on this down the track, but right now I'm just testing to see, do they resonate with me? Is this something that I would like to include in my collection? There are 2 there's actually 3, but 2 that I really want to put forward to you, and I'll tell you why the third, not just yet. There are 2 in here that I did not enjoy as much. Very, very like boom. It's not a note scent profile that I gravitate to. Yesterday was 32 degrees, very hot here in Melbourne. I was wearing one of them. Here's the name, I forgot. They're all very unique names. So, and it had a very pronounced celery note, and that celery note was cooking my brain. I had to wash it off. It was like, bah. So maybe in a cooler landscape that would work. It was very hot, very humid, and that celery note was just just making me dizzy. The 2 fragrances that I want to address and put on your radar for those who may want to experience these. One is, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing these all wrong. Here it is here. NEPHILIM. NEPHILIM? This is a gorgeous rose. So on opening, the rose just comes through so beautifully and delicate. It is a heavier rose, unlike some rose fragrances that sort of very much elaborate on the berry or the lightness of the rose. Here, it is definitely a much heavier, darker rose. There is an overshadowing that is occurring with this particular rose. Because I don't know the notes, I do believe he's using two different types of roses, but I don't know for certain. I won't even put it here. Hannah, don't put any notes out. The idea is that it is a rose, I think, this is how I'm seeing it, a rose accented fragrance. I do get, if I want to grab it quickly and sort of summarize it, it's a dark plum, so that molasses, but fruit, but rich and syrupy, with a woody rose element to it. So those people who are afraid of rose, this is a great place to begin for as a man. So this is a really, the rose is there, but not so overtly pronounced. I do love rose as a fragrance note, but here it does start off a little bit more present, but then as it dries down, it does pull back. This has been gorgeous all around. So I've been wearing, when I first came across, Troy shared this with me, I was wearing it in cooler weather. The rose, or that particular scent profile was gorgeous. I was wearing it yesterday, or the day before, sorry. It was quite warm and it was beautiful. It wasn't too heavy, so it can work all different landscapes, seasons, sorry. It works through all different seasons. Great expression, fantastic fragrance, beautifully balanced, and awesome longevity. Again, the reason why I test during the Australian Open is that I can see how well these fragrances perform. There's a lot of, we do a lot of walking, and there's the heat and everything else, and these, either they sweat off or they stay with me. And this one here stayed with me pretty much all day long. Big recommendation, liked it a lot. The other one that I really, really enjoyed, and I've been spraying this one a little bit on the repeat, so I've done this a few times now. PENANGGAL, I think that's how you pronounce it. I have fallen in love with the sort of the white floral note. I mentioned in my 2025 wrap-up video, 12 fragrances that I really love. One is called Jasmine Freak. And I mentioned in that particular episode that I always felt like white florals was very much a female scent profile. It's something that my wife loves. And so I always felt like it was a part of the cabinet that I couldn't open, that I wasn't allowed to open. So I've now discovered these white florals with that indolic sort of very unique scent profile. And now I have access to them, and I'm excited that I've unlocked this part of the cabinet and now have access to these particular fragrances. This is a celebration of that white floral. I don't think there is jasmine, but there is a very pronounced white floral element. I love the evolution of this fragrance where it begins very indolic, a little bit on that animalic, and touch of that sort of poopiness of it, but with that white floral balance, so it never goes into too deep sort of animalic and dirty smelling. The white florals are still there, but then it has this beautiful green element that comes in over the top. Again, not knowing what the notes are, but yeah, just gorgeously balanced. Then as it moves through and it dries down, I do love that it goes into this chocolatey, ylang-ylang style. It does make me think of the Paris Monte Carlo fragrance, ylang-ylang Nosy Bay, with that chocolatey, heavy, floral, sort of rich bouquet that is the ylang-ylang. I am pretty certain that ylang-ylang is in here. Guaranteed there's some kind of white floral happening. Probably about 30-40 minutes, and there it is. So that balance between the pleasant white floral and then that poopy sort of indolic nature to it, that beautiful balance. But this is one that, and actually I found that all the grimoires are not ones that you inhale deeply. Let them just permeate the air, let them just be present, and the sillage and the presence that they have is fantastic. I do feel that they're a little bit more on the wintry sort of landscape. As a summer fragrance, there's nothing sort of vibrant and upbeat about them. Having said that, these two here can comfortably perform over a summer landscape, but I think that they would sing best in that sort of cooler weather. There is the last one that I really like, Todorak, I think it is. I was wearing this in late October or early November, and it was cooler. And this was gorgeous, beautiful amber. I think there was incense in there. There was sort of this more resinous sort of feel to it. I instantly picked up this beeswax sort of note profile honey, but waxy-like. Gorgeous, gorgeous, wonderful as a cold weather fragrance. I wore it yesterday, 32 degrees. I was dying. It was too heavy. It was killing me. So Todorak is one that I would recommend for cooler landscape, but not something for summer. It was literally blowing my brain. So there you go. I will explore this a little bit more. I take my hat off to Troy. Great work, my friend. And considering that he is a person who is exploring niche perfumery, again, self-taught. I'll unbox this a little bit more, and I'd love to maybe spend some time with Troy and understand his process a bit better. Boom. Aussies, go. So let's now talk, let's move into clones. The conversation that I raised last week, which I'm so grateful for the level of engagement that I received from everybody. So first thank you is for all the people who did jump in. I did really like that there was such a balanced view. We had people who really love it, other people who don't enjoy it as much, and these conversations came forward. So that was the first thank you. Second thank you is no fighting. It was so beautiful to see these different conversations, these different viewpoints coming through, and no one jumping in, getting really emotional about it and going, "Oh, you're an idiot." Yes, so people sometimes say things like that. It was great. I appreciate that. I appreciate an opportunity to share different views and accept other people's views. So I think that was awesome, and thank you for participating. I'll have another question for you at the end of this. Boom. Before I begin, and this is where I really, really want to start, and I need to shout out this particular person who wrote. This is the fragrance. I need to switch glasses. The Fragrance League, there it is, now I can see it. And he wrote a great comment here, but I want to address this part here, which is at the end, and that is, at the end of the day, you don't owe anyone an explanation as to why you buy what you buy. As long as you're happy, nothing else matters. And the point that I want to address on that is, you do you. I've said this many, many times. I'm going to share my 2 cents or share my view on how I feel about this particular conversation. But at the end of the day, it's your money. You worked for it. You did, you did what you had to do for to obtain that. So if this is what you love, great. If this is not what you love, great. You do you. Now, I'm going to show pros and cons. So in summary, everybody shared these particular points for the 4 clones and against clones. Number 1, this is the pros. It was the pure economics of it. The people who are on a budget, or if you want to go, look, I don't want to spend $500 on a perfume when I can spend, $50 or $25, depending where you're buying from. Then this is a great way to jump in and experience something that is like the original. In that particular area, some other points that came out is that this is a great way, if you want to know what that fragrance is like, then the clone is a great way to experience that and get the feeling of what that actual fragrance will be, with the intention of maybe buying it down the road. That was some of the comments that came through. Another part there was that if you are a collector by nature, but budget doesn't allow you to buy, $500 bottles across a full brand, this gives you an opportunity to go in and really expand that library very fast and very quickly. That was one of them. The second point that came in the pros is that it's a tweak on the original. And this particular point here was, let's say that there was an original fragrance, but the performance you're not happy with, or its projection you're not that happy with. The clone has come in and really expanded that. One perfect example is, which is a dupe, in fact, is Ariana Grande's Cloud, which is a dupe of Baccarat Rouge. The Cloud goes through wall. I mean, that fragrance, the performance on that is just like crazy, and it just goes everywhere. So that was another reason why people jump in on clones and things like that. And the other part with that tweak on the original conversation is that in some cases the clone has accentuated a particular note that has become a favorite. For instance, Aventa's the pineapple opening, the clone has now sort of give it a bit more juiciness, or has done a twist on that original and made it something a little bit different. The last part, I did not know this, which is that some of these clone companies are also creating their own fragrances. And so I guess they're staying within their mantra of accessible or budget products. And so they're now creating their own fragrances and releasing this to the market. And some of the people refer to certain, and it sounds like it's mainly these houses from Dubai. I know that Dubai or the Middle East has really expanded when it comes to these clone sort of presentation. So they're the pros. Now I'll give you the cons. These were also consistently being shared. One is that it is exploitation. The bottom line is, and put it really bluntly, it's stealing. And you're stealing someone's intellectual property, someone who has put a lot of energy and effort. Clone company comes along and goes, thank you very much, that's a success. Bop, I'll recreate it, here you go. So that's one. The second question that was raised is the oils that are being used. Now this now sort of breaks out into a different direction, meaning that I have had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me, how do I feel about spraying perfume directly on skin? There's a lot of conversation on at the moment that by spraying on skin, these oils that then are absorbed, how does this affect our body? You know, I think it's the lymphosystem. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. I responded in the same way. I'm not a doctor, I don't know these things. You do you. So whatever you think is the right thing, that's what you should be doing. So, but here's the question. These clones, I mean, it's all budget based because it's all about cutting cost excessively to make it accessible and make it super cheap for the consumer. Is that cost being cut down into an area where now these synthetics could be dubious? You know, are they? My short answer is no, because I'd like to think that there is some level of, from these companies, care that exists. However, when money is involved in things, care and responsibility goes out the window. And here are some real examples within the food industry. A few years ago, in Europe, there was this massive contamination that occurred with the microwave food, where beef was actually being substituted, or cow was being substituted for horse. In fact, it was horse meat that was being used in these beef meals. Here in Australia, just recently, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was a massive contamination issue that occurred with a major, I won't name names, with a major retailer in which the raspberries were contaminated with hepatitis A. Turns out that these berries, raspberries, that were coming in from China were actually fertilized with human feces. Boom, cheap baby. Everybody's got a poo. Put it on the raspberries. So when money gets involved, and you know, if we gonna cut costs, it becomes, you know, question mark. And I'll go on more. So let's put now more quantifying on this. I did this video here, which is on vanilla. Talked about how expensive it is to extract vanilla, and I went to find out how to get a vanilla pod. So watch this. It was a lot of research that went into this. But on quick facts, to get 1 kilo of vanilla absolute, you need 500 kilos of pods. All right, that then gets distilled down into that 1 kilo of vanilla absolute. the cost for that 1 kilo of vanilla absolute is about 4,000 US dollars per kilo. To get vanillin, which is now the synthetic equivalent, originally vanillin was being extracted from vanilla. Then they discovered you can actually extract that from even wood chips. In most cases, it's being extracted from wheat germ or the rice bran. That is now $15 per kilo. So you can see how the cost effectiveness of synthetics can be. The reality, so just to quantify that, the reality is you do need synthetics to elaborate when it comes to, you know, the scent profile. You can't create a praline scent without synthetics in there. But how much of that is now natural ingredients? My short answer is 0, because the cost doesn't allow it to occur. So it's now all synthetic oils that are being used in here. The last one is creative bankruptcy. And this is the part that I feel a little bit strong on. And I'm really grateful for this comment, because this person here, Daniel, by the way, here's the comment. Let me switch glasses. Daniel wrote a number of different points, and he wrote this. This is his closing line. He says, when a medium cannot protect its own authorship, it stops producing culture and starts producing replicas. Dupes, or clones, are not a side effect of the market. They are its purest expression. A system where nothing can be owned except the shell inevitably consumes its own soul. So I really liked that, and for me that was like nail on the head, but that was a bullseye, boom, even Robin Hood style, where, you know, it actually pierces the other arrow that's in the bullseye. Because this is my concern, this is my fear, and that is that if we're not creating and duplicating and cloning, essentially we become creatively bankrupt, and then what happens? You know, it dies essentially. One quick example, and then I'm going to tell you a story. So there is, as for those who know, I'm a beekeeper. I love my bees, and I'm super protective of them. And one thing that I hate, there's a parasite called varroa. And the varroa mite is such a, like all parasites, such an insidious little thing. It actually sits, this little mite sits on the back of the neck of the bee. Very hard for the bee to actually take it off. They can't. And what this varroa mite does, it actually sits on the spinal cord, essentially, of the bee, and slowly eats, you know, drinks its fluid, and you know, slowly and slowly and slowly kills this bee until it literally becomes a shell and the bee dies. It's so heartbreaking. And look, just the story of that, just not even a story, it's a real thing. So I feel like that's my fear, that it is a little bit parasitical, that it drains the creativity. It's easy for someone to come across, see a winner, and go beep, bop, boop, and you know, you now have this thing which at, you know, a third of the cost. And eventually, you know, it sucks the life out of the industry. Let me give you a storyline now. This is a real thing. So back in the 70s, late 70s and 80s, there was a thing called sound-alikes. And this is a business that existed in which there were music companies or brands that would create songs that mimicked top 40s or top 20 songs at the time. There was a loophole that allowed this to occur. So at that stage, the licensing and copyright was pretty non-existent, which is crazy to think, but it's true. And actually, I'll go one more. One of the biggest brands was called Top of the Pops. Boom, look at these covers. Tell me this does not look like the 70s, you know, England or something like that. Think of Benny Hill and the Carry On movies. So these were the covers of these Top of the Pops. You can actually go to Spotify. There are, check out Top of the Pops, and you'll see that these songs, and listen to them. Now, what they did were they grabbed a top, you know, a successful song, and where they were able to, they mimicked it, like it was called sound-alike, so they mimicked it perfectly. What they couldn't mimic, obviously, was the artist and the way that the artist sang. But the music and everything else was literally like for like, essentially. Now, I was a 14-year-old boy, and this is back in the early 80s. Not a lot of money was around. And I'll give you an example of what that means. That my parents would go on a Friday night date to an area called Parkmore Shopping Center. For those who know Parkmore Shopping Center, this is not where you go for a date. Unless you're about to call it off and say, honey, meet me here because I'm going to end this relationship. But anyway, my parents would go to Parkmore Shopping Center as a date to do a passeggiata, you know, walk around with the shops, all that sort of stuff. We loved it as kids because they would come back with a single Mars bar, one Mars bar. Think of the stuff that you buy and eat by yourself. That would be then cut up into 4 pieces, because there was 4 of us, and we would eat this mini Mars bar, and it was delightful because this definitely showed there was not a lot of chocolate in my household, you know. Other than Friday night, a slice of Mars bar, bada bing, my brain would just, you know, like this would be so exciting. And this is something that even my siblings remember. The Friday night, parents would go out and come back with a Mars bar or a chocolate of some sort. Now, I worked very hard for my money when I was a 14-year-old kid because I wanted to buy one of these albums. Ooh, this made a funny sound. I'm going to come back because I'm going to stop. So as a 14-year-old boy, worked very hard for, you know, my little funds that I had. And I was super excited to buy one of these albums. Now, you have to remember in those days, news or information is not like today. Social media, just, you know, if something happens across the world in 10 seconds, boom, you're seeing what's going down. Whereas back in the 80s, 6 o'clock news is what you had to wait for to find out what was happening. So I didn't know what these Top of the Pops actually was until I bought it, brought it home, wanted to hear this Prince song, and I'm like, this is not Prince. The music started like Prince, but as the art or the person started, not an artist, as the person started singing, I'm like, this ain't Prince. I had to wait for the next day because this was a phenomenon in my school. Everybody was like, yeah, you gotta buy this, you gotta buy this. And it was super cheap. Here's the other part too. So to buy the original was boof, but to buy this Top of the Pop thing was costing next to nothing. And I'm like, man, I'm winning when something is too good to be true. Anyway, I went to school the next day and I said to my friend, what's this about? And they're like, he then elaborated, oh yeah, you know what it is? It's, you know, it's sound like artists who sound like it, but it's so cool because now you can own all these cool songs. And I'm like, you can own all these cool songs, but they all sound like trash. They don't sound like what I want to hear. I threw away, and hand on my heart. So it was a cassette. I worked hard to buy it, but I was so disgusted in this thing. I get out of my face. I didn't want it. It does lead into my personality. I like real. That's the thing. MATÉ talk is all about that. There's no cuts other than when my camera is about to die. But there's no cuts. And what is this about? It's about knowing who the person is. You know, it's about the reality of it rather than sort of fabricating. So if I can't own it, if it's not the real thing, I don't want it. You know what I mean? I want real. Now, this Top of the Pops was a great success. However, where money is involved, all of a sudden there's different things here. And what was happening is that the music, because it was growing, the music companies were losing on revenue due to this competition, these clones. And so they started then to champion these copyright and these licensing laws. Now you think that was what created the death of this Top of the Pops style of or sound alike. In fact, it was threefold. One is definitely that. So laws were passed to say you can't do this and protecting the artists and all that sort of stuff. Truthfully, protecting the music company and keeping the money funneling towards them, which of course then funnels to the artist. The second part of the nail in this coffin was that the fans, me, wanted to hear the artist, Prince. I don't want to hear Quince or Jints or whoever else was singing on this thing. I wanted to hear Prince. I wanted to hear his voice. And so the fans began to understand that they wanted to support the artist, and they then started to make that choice to go, I don't want that, I want this. And then the last one, that I guess that final nail in the coffin, was that now it's all to do with money. People stopped buying this in place of that. So the threefold reason why this whole industry died was the law, you can't copy, 2, the fans wanted to support, and 3, people wanted the real thing. I asked this question of Luca Maffei, and because for me, I see it as a concern within the industry, and this is the truth. When I see this clone, because I'm like the Varroa might, could it eventually destroy the very thing that I love, which is the creativity, the artistry, the unique take, you know, the adventure that you go on to try something different. Luca was so optimistic, and actually, so when you get to meet Luca, he's a super chill kind of guy. You know, if he was on the Titanic, and he'd be like, "Oh, good, one last martini, and then let's find a boat and let's get off this thing." So he's super chill, and he said to me, in a very optimistic way, he says, "It's almost like a non-issue." And there was 2 reasons. One, he said, we are currently in the golden age of perfumery. Now, you got to put into context. This is a guy who, this is his living. This is his bread and butter, to create unique fragrances and then to, these oils is what he does. You know, so he creates, one, he creates the concept, and then his company creates the actual oils, which becomes the perfume. We're living in the golden age of perfumery, he said, and that's because the consumer has never been as educated and astute as to what they love and what they want. So this knowledge is actually driving the desire to get things that are unique and different. That's one. And 2, the other, my brain's like, what was the other one? Bing, boom, boom. So the fans is 1, better informed. Oh, and a genuine interest. So 1, the fans are a lot more educated, and 2, people want something different. People are looking for adventure, you know, rather than where previously designer fragrances sort of populated the landscape, and they were similar, you know, a little bit of this with a little bit of that. Whereas here, people want something different and something unique and a new take. He then said, the clone, and he used these words, the clone killer is naturals. Have a look at this video here. This is Jean-Luc Paris.
I will never substitute a beautiful rose with a synthetic rose. This is something you shouldn't do.
For those who missed this video, check it out. This was an interview that I did with Jean-Luc Paris, someone that I highly respect. The Paris Monte Carlo range is exceptional. And he talked about how naturals are needed. He needs, synthetics are needed. He needs synthetics in his palette to allow him to elaborate, but it will never take the place of a natural. There's a thing called terroir, to say Frenchy-like, to say it properly, in other words. Now, terroir is about the soil creates the product. The atmosphere creates the product. The wind, the sun, the rain, all these different elements go into creating the product. Unlike a synthetic, it will always be this, you know, possibly maybe throw in some nuances, but this is what it is, and this is how it's created. Whereas a natural is now adapting to its terroir, and it's adapting to the location that it's coming from. Jean-Luc Paris talked about looking for a unique vanilla, and for those who haven't experienced the Vanille de Tahiti, you need to check this vanilla out. If you like vanilla fragrances, it's glorious. I would go with the extract. I love the extract. The EDP is beautiful, but the extract is knock out of this world, knock out of the park scent profile. And he talked about in that particular episode how he really looked for a unique vanilla to include in his fragrance. Going back to Luca, and going back to the concept that the natural is the clone killer, here's a company who's actually investing in unique naturals that are Italian. He wants to celebrate Italy. Recently bought a farm in Calabria which does bergamot. For those who know, behind me, the the Dolce Milano actually has that bergamot in the fragrance. Then he also bought a farm in Tuscany, which is the Iris Blue farm. Again, if you look at, here's the bottle. In our olfactive travel, Pelle Viola celebrates that, and I'll explain this a little bit more. And they're actually investing in another farm. I can't say what it is yet. He has shared with me. I'm super excited. These are now celebration of Italian things. And the reason for it is because they want to go back to industrialization is important, but it's also about taking a step backwards and respecting the land, respecting the extraction, and therefore getting a much more robust and also nuanced fragrance note that then supports the actual fragrance itself. For those who are familiar, I mentioned that we're doing the KM fragrance tour south of France. I'll tell you more at the end, but one of the experiences is with Robertet. Now, Robertet, established in 1850, they are one of the earlier fragrance houses that elaborated within that Grasse region. There used to be a method called enfleurage, and this is about now putting like a bit of fat or some wax or something of that nature, and hand placing these florals, okay? And then the wax then draws out the oils. It's a long process. Let me tell you this. It's a long and laborious process, very expensive, which it actually died off because of the cost. With the industrialization, you can do things on a much bigger scale and all the rest of it. Guess what? Robertet are returning back to this video here that's about to come out. But have a look at this. This is now this enfleurage, which we were part of. The scent in there, so these were all tuberoses that were in this enfleurage. The scent, when he opened that door, was exquisite. It was so pronounced. And JB, the gentleman that was with us, explained why they're doing this. And I did say, isn't this very labor intensive? He says, yes, but nothing can extract it, or the scent profile that this creates cannot be replicated in any way. So there is this doubling down when it comes to naturals. And I think, this is my assumption on it, it's because the industry sees these clones that are coming forward, and they're creating the clone killer. The intention is to educate the consumer to know what is the difference between that versus this. For those who are familiar with the Olfactive Traveler brand that Kevin and I released, we're always going to make the decision to include naturals in our fragrances. We purposely selected Luca, apart from the fact that he's an incredible perfumer and such a beautiful storyteller when it comes to that olfactive sort of appeal, is also AFM are investing deeply when it comes to naturals from Italy. I knew that he had this bergamot farm, so I had met with him previously. I had smelt the bergamot. It could be a fragrance in itself. And when we created Pelle Viola, initially, the iris that was being used, which was a natural ingredient, was actually a compound. And for those who know the stories, I'm going to summarize it quickly. Was actually a compound of Italy, France, and Germany. This was all blended together to create this iris butter. And he said to us at the time, how true do you want to be to this iris from Tuscany? We're like, absolutely. And as he started to tell the story of Iris Blue, and you found that they had purchased and what the actual floral that they were using, which was native to the land, blah blah blah, and the way that they're doing it with a care for the land, organic, beep blah boop. I remember at the time we were having this meeting, and I wrote, for those who don't know the story, on the paper next to me, because I didn't want to give too much of a tell to Luca, because I knew that he was warming us up for the price. I wrote to Kevin, we need to have this. And I looked at him, I'm like, I don't care what this price is. We need to have this. Two reasons why we need to have this. One, because the scent profile, and for those who experience the Pelle Viola with that compound, with that mixture of different, and then the Pelle Viola, which is now the final, two different things. Literally two, and I've got the previous scent profile, and you put them side by side, the two different experiences. That Iris Blue is divine. For me, it's what makes that fragrance sing. The second part is the harvest. This is a 2025 harvest that we're putting into Pelle Viola. There is a low yield on this farm, it's 1.3. It's a set ground. This is all they can produce from it. And so Luca actually assigned brands to have this fragrance and put aside those particular, the amount that he needs. So the one thing that's going to, and I know this is going to be the case because this is similar to a vintage when it comes to wine, is that every year the nuance on this fragrance will be unique because this is now a natural ingredient that is adapting to its terroir. If they had too much rain, if they had too much sun, if they had a wind coming in from a different direction, whatever it may be, I know that this will affect and this is what Luca was saying too, so it's not even my imagination, that the terroir that's going to happen every year, there is going to be a nuance to this actual harvest, which I'm super excited about. So that's the overview on the whole thing. Okay, I think it's pretty clear to know where I sit when it comes to this conversation. I go back to what I was saying earlier and similar to what the Fragrance League had to say. So if my language has been a little bit arrogant or with a tinge of superiority, I apologize. That's not my intention. You do you. This is your money. You earned it. You don't have to explain about anything. But if the question is asked of me, and it has been asked of me in the past, where do I sit with this? The answer is no. And the answer is no for the reasons, but to summarize it into a really easy thing, 3 parts. 1, I want to respect the creativity. For me, the creativity is really important. Without it, we can't get, a gentleman like this who goes out of his way to, and let me just say, now having experienced with my own brand and the cost that's involved and that's not your problem. So as a consumer, that's not your problem. That's my problem. But if the industry like that bee and the varroa begins to diminish and sort of slowly become a shell, well, guess what? There's no more investment from someone like myself or someone like Troy to go, you know what? I want to explore this because in the end, that market has disappeared. And that's the part that I don't want to happen because I love this, the sense of creativity, and it's an accessible piece of art. Think of the Mona Lisa. It would be awesome for me to have the Mona, actually, have some sort of cool picture behind me, a Van Gogh, but I don't, if it's not the original, I don't want it. So the whole idea is that this is an accessible piece of art that I can, yes, it's expensive, but here's another thing too. This is what so pre-channel, the channel now, so you can't judge me on the channel because I need, the currency is perfume. The currency for me to talk to you guys, I need to have, availability of these fragrances. But pre-channel, I discovered, and even before I was doing designers, I would buy one fragrance every 3 months. Every quarter, I'd purposely do exploration. I would buy a lot of discovery sets. And once a quarter, I would buy myself a fragrance. There's no harm in it. I mean, for me, that's how I lived, you see. So, but again, it's my money. I can do what I want. Boom, 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 going everywhere. So number 1, threefold why I would never buy a clone is 1, the creativity. I want to protect that. I want to respect the creator. 2, I do want real. I've been banging on about this. I like real things. I want to be knowing that I own something that is genuine. And then for me, now this could be a placebo, this could be imagined, the experience is different. I have smelled blindfolded, side by side, one fragrance, and to see if I could see the difference. I was not necessarily, not that my friend was trying to trick me, was trying to accentuate to say, look, they're the same thing. And a blindfold, I picked, I'm like, nope, this is not it, this is the one. So for me, the experience is different. I do enjoy, even if the performance of the fragrance is, I'm going to go back to Cloud and Baccarat Rouge, I can smell Cloud. Yes, it's a Baccarat Rouge, and that sounds pretentious. Anyway, but bottom line is, I do like the experience of the original, and that's what I enjoy. But let me go back to my good friend, the Fragrance League. It's your money. No judgment, you do you. And at the end of the day, you need to explain to nobody why you choose to do what you do, because it's your money. You earned it, you worked for it, do what you want with it. Allora, boom, there it is. I would love comments now. Tell me what you think about what I just shared. Hopefully, as I said, if I did say something that you're like, whoa, look at this pretentious person, I promise, hand on my heart, I'm not trying to be that. If it sounded arrogant or superior, no, in no way. I've even said in the past, a beautiful smell is a beautiful smell. If you like designers, if you like links, for instance, you know, if that's you do you. At the end of the day, a beautiful smell is a beautiful smell, and if that's what you enjoy, then do it. It's your money. Okay, moving on. Boom. Let me move into, actually, again, please, I'd love to read your comments and see what you, actually, I was going to put another theme, but I've got a feeling a lot of things are coming out of this particular comment. Let's elaborate a little bit more. So I'll give you another week of sharing your thoughts on this particular subject, and yeah, leave it open to you guys. And then next week, I'm going to raise another question that I have. I've had questions asked of me, and also I think it'd be a bit of fun to sort of elaborate on. Let me talk about KM fragrance tours. As I mentioned last week, and a few more questions have come in on this, so I'm going to answer that. But just for those who might not be familiar, there are going to be 2 tours this year. One tour is happening in June. It's similar to last year, which was a sort of a marry of the Essence Milan experience. This year, Essence is going to be in June. The dates are, or the date of the tour is the 5th to the 6th, midday 5th to midday the 6th. The idea is that you find your own accommodation, so that'll take a big cost out of from our end. Yeah, find your own accommodation. That's the easiest. So even if you ask me, can you find, the short answer is no. We won't be elaborating in that because it's way too hard, and you got to pay for it in advance and all sorts of things. The way that the experience is going to be, and this is a question that was asked, how's the whole play going to occur? So on the 5th, we're going to have a private experience. Last year, we had a private session with Fragrance du Bois. Not all brands showcase in Essence. There are some brands that actually have exterior places, their own suites in a hotel, things like that. So we're going to do the same experience. We'll have a private session with just our people. Maximum 20 will be on the tour. Private session with our people in the suite, and you'll get a one-on-one opportunity to spend time with the brand. Then that evening we'll have dinner together. We'll find somewhere nice. Last year we ate at a Michelin recommended restaurant. It was just glorious. I'd like to go back there, by the way, because I really enjoy that place. Then the next morning we will do Essence in the morning. That's Saturday, and the idea behind that is that we also curate this. So rather than just sort of wandering around, we actually talk to a number of brands in there. We go into their private area behind the scenes. So the regular punters who might be in the actual precinct or in the fair don't have the same access. So we'll go behind the scenes. You'll have direct access to the actual the brand owners, etc. You'll have a private experience. It is like a 2 or 3 hours, so it is pretty, you know, we're pretty pacey. We try to sort of have as many brands as we can. The one thing we're going to do different this year is we're debating, actually for the VIPs, those who were here with us last year, give me your thoughts. We're actually thinking of separating the group this year. So I'll take 10, Kevin will take 10, and we'll do the same thing. We'll just sort of cross over. I think one of the problems we had last year was 20 people. It was quite difficult to move around, also to hear the brand owners. Anyway, you tell me what your thoughts are. Then we'll have lunch together, and then we'll end with another private experience, okay? So the idea is really to deep dive, to go, a lot of energy, a lot of activity, and also to connect with all these beautiful perfume lovers when it comes to all things niche. Just as a warning, so, and also as a heads up, those who joined us last year, you guys are our VIPs. You will have first access. So what will happen is we will open it up to, we will open up the release of the Essence tour at the end of February into March. The VIPs will have first access. We'll give you guys probably 5 days or so if you want to participate to go ahead and book. Then whatever's remaining out of that, that will be open to the general public. Once we've hit our quarter of 20, we're going to close that and limits it to that. Boom. Now, the next tour that we have, and this is the one that I want to elaborate a little bit more, the one-day tour is pretty pacey, a lot of movement, whereas the one that we're doing in the south of France is a lot more slow down. It's a chance to really connect with Kevin and I in a much more personable way. Not that, I mean, we try to make ourselves as accessible as possible on that one-day tour, but it's a one-day tour. There are 20 people, and so it's a little bit harder. Whereas the 3.5 day, things get really slowed down, and we now spend a lot more time together. This is going to be, as I mentioned, in the south of France. The experiences are full day experiences with the brands. The first half day, so everybody will check in on the Sunday. We are staying in the Royal Moulin, a great property in the middle or in the heart of Grasse. The idea is that after people check in, we will have an experience. It will be connected to Olfactive Traveler. We've got some things that we'll announce. That evening we'll have dinner together. The next day is Sourdor. We're spending a full day with Quentin, elaborating on his brand. This is French perfumery, but now with a modern twist. If you're not familiar with the Sourdor brand, have a look at these productions. Exceptional work that he's doing, and just beautiful passion behind the fragrances he creates. The next day we will be going to the French Riviera and going to Houbigant. They've got a beautiful boutique in Cannes. For me, Cannes is my heaven on earth. It's such a beautiful blend between that French Riviera, so you get that beach vibe, for those who haven't been, that beach vibe to the place. But at the same time, it's cosmopolitan. There are some great restaurants, so we will be having lunch in Cannes. And then spending the day with Jean-Luc Paris and the Houbigant brand. For those who are not familiar with Houbigant, this is a brand that nearly got lost in the sands of time, essentially. They were the first creator of the Fougère. Royal Fougère is attributed to the brand. The family Paris, the Paris family, they bought this brand and brought it back to life, essentially. So we're going to be doing a lot more exploration on what this means. The last day is now a full immersive experience when it comes to the naturals. So we have Christina Balchaud with her brand, Balchaud. This is a woman who really, this is my style of perfumery. So she loves all things naturals and wants to celebrate the natural from a location. Currently, she does a lot of work with Robertet, and we will be not only in Robertet's private field, so jasmine and tuberose and things of that nature, but we'll go back and see the extraction process. You will see enfleurage, the scent profile that this creates. So if you love the more detailed, the more intimate feeling when it comes to niche perfumery, then this last day is really the third jewel in the crown, because all the others are jewels too. And then we'll have dinner that night. So if you, now, just, you know, the KM, that South of France tour is already selling really well. Thank you for those people who have participated. It will be capped, so if you are interested or you're sitting on the fence on this, I would encourage you to jump on in. I do need to release hotel rooms by mid-March, and that's the other thing too. We have booked at the Royal Moulin the first two levels, and the idea is that you get a beautiful view of the Grasse region. If once I have released those rooms, we can book, but you're now going to be on ground level. It's still beautiful. It's still a beautiful hotel, still a beautiful room. It's just that you won't have a view. You just have a very nice garden terrace, essentially. So if you want a view, then prior to March, that would be ideal. Any questions in regards to any of these things, please let me know. To answer the Milan, nothing's going to be on the website until, say, early March. That's when that will go live, okay? Now, the last thing I want to share, I got to stop. Last thing I'm sharing is promo that's currently happening till the end of this month. So far, we've only had one entry, so hence we have one winner. Let's rival. Come on, let's give Rob a run for his money. The idea is that we have the Olfactive Traveler OT travel set. Boom. I'm going to say a lot of people have this because we sold out of it, so a lot of people have this. We'd love you to take a photo in so something exotic. Have a look at what I did. Boop. And check out this one. This is the winner. Come on. Unfortunately, I can't win because I'm not allowed to. So the idea is take a photo of your OT traveler, somewhere ideally exotic. Anywhere that you live in the world is exotic to me. And make sure you tag these handles. And we will then push that as stories across our Insta. The ones who get the most likes, it will become a beauty contest. The ones who get the most likes will then fall on our page. And you have the honor of, or two things. One, the honor of now living on our page forever. Your photo will live on there forever. And secondly, you will get a $50 credit for any future OT orders that you may want to do. Now that 50 US is equivalent to about 12 to 15% discount. So it's actually a fairly generous little offer that we're putting forward. Now the OT Traveler promo will end at the end of this month. So if you've got some cool photos that you've taken or you want to take a cool photo, please do that now, tag it, and boom, we'll get that out. We'll share that with everybody. So far, as I said, Rob, you're the winner. So let's give Rob a run for his money. Poor Rob's like, no, 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 everybody go away. All right, that's it, everyone. Bada bing, awesome to have been here and share this. I did enjoy, I really, really enjoyed reading all your comments. I tried to answer as many as I could. It has been busy, as I said, we've been heavily involved with all things Australian Open. I will try to respond to some more. I hope you enjoyed this sort of breakup on all things clone and everything else. I look forward to reading those comments coming forward, and I'll see you guys all on the next month's talk. Bye, everyone.